And as we say hello to everybody, hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Datamine. It is a Thursday. It is just about lunchtime. I'm sure all of us are sitting here wondering what we're doing here instead of out at a pub having lunch or something. But hey, what can we say? Welcome to the Datamine. I am joined by, as always, the awesomeness that is Danny.
Hello.
In case you can't tell, he's in a different location than he was last week. We're
Mm.
testing things out to ensure a good quality sound and
Making
connection.
sure I'm not running this off my phone again as well.
Yes, although to be fair, it actually did rather well.
It did, but my phone usage is now completely barred, so
Nice.
Oops, not what we
yeah.
wanted to see. But we
Welcome to the 21st century.
oh exactly. But as you can see, we have a special guest with us today. We are joined by the lovely Dr. Jo Twist, who we will just call Jo. And if you can tell, she has kittens like everywhere. She's got like the most awesome chair blanket like ever. I am so jealous. I so want one. So oh no. She's got more
She has
cats.
more.
How many cats do you have?
I don't own a single real life cat, never have in my entire life.
I think you want to though.
I overcompensate in other ways.
Do you want to be a cat when you grow up?
Oh, totally. If I ever grow up.
If if yeah,
Ah,
that's me. If I ever actually grow up, I'll let you know what I want to be when I grow up at some point in time. But yes, so we're going to ask you just a couple questions just to let people get introduced to you so that people learn a little bit about you because some people may be familiar with you, some people may not, and we want to make certain that people know you. So, what we're
Okay.
going to do is spend a little time grilling you. Are you ready for this?
Oh,
Oh, the tough questions they come out. So the most tough
it's
question of all is who are you and what do you do?
that's a very deep philosophical question. So I am Jo Twist, and I head up UKIE, which stands for UK Interactive Entertainment, and we're a trade body, which sounds really kind of weird. And people say, "What's a trade association? What's a trade body?" And we basically try and help games businesses do business and succeed in what they're trying to make and create, and really try and get a real positive perception of the industry in terms of the media and how politicians make decisions that affect how we do business and how we make games. That's me.
Oh,
pretty
so
much
the
pretty
big
much everything.
question is I was going to say, the big question is
Yeah.
who are you when you are not doing that?
Oh, when I'm not doing that, well, I tend to spend most of my time doing that because I am very, very passionate about this industry and games. I absolutely adore this job. I think I'm the luckiest person alive to have this job. I can live and breathe and talk about games non-stop as my job. It's amazing. So when I'm not asleep, I do tend to obsess quite a lot about cats. Um, but this is a full-time job. As I say, I'm completely obsessed with this world and with this industry, and it's my hobby as well. So I'm very, very lucky.
Well, see, now that leads into another question. But before I take and ask you what your favorite genre of game really is, and we find out if it's cats or not, but a lot of people think that to get involved in game development and game design in general, they have to be a programmer. They don't realize that there's advocacy groups out there that they can get involved in as well and actually help the community out. So, what else can people
Absolutely.
do? I mean,
I mean, it really is important. I mean, we run something called, it's a volunteer scheme called the Video Games Ambassador Scheme, for instance, which is about people in the industry or making games volunteering once a year at very least to go into their local schools and to talk about the industry because lots of people don't realize that even though more than 1 in 3 people play games every day, 55 million hours of games a day are played in the UK alone. It's mainstream part of our
Wow.
mainstream culture. Lots of kids and lots of parents and lots of teachers and lots of adults don't really realize that there's actually a career and a job that you can get. You can make a living out of your what you love doing. So it's really important that you do that kind of advocacy role to the wider world in schools, catching people young. When I've done my school talks, I've had numerous kids come up to me and go, I just this is amazing. I had no idea my hobby could be a job. How do I get into this industry? So it's really important, and everyone who is making games or loves games can play a part in doing that kind of advocacy role. But it's really important because what we try and do is connect the community and connect people. We make introductions to people. We try and help people. We're a not-for-profit. One of the reasons why I love this job is because we are here to help people, and sometimes people don't necessarily kind of realize what kind of help they need. But just sitting down and chatting and just sitting on our beanbags, coming to the office, which all members can use for free, just playing games, catching up. Sometimes, it emerges, oh, you know what, I'd really like to find out more about how I do X, Y, or Z, or, and there's never a stupid question. So it's fantastic, and we're such a collaborative industry. We like to help each other anyway, and that's so I've never been in any other sector that has that kind of vibe. So it's fantastic.
I like the fact that you have beanbag chairs.
They have an amazing
Oh
office,
yeah.
by the way.
Yeah,
I
it's
haven't
cool.
been to the office
It's
yet.
great.
This is something I'm going to have to do at some point, Joe. I'm going to have to come have veggie drinks with you and sit in beanbag
Yeah.
chairs, and we can talk games.
Surrounded by cats.
Oh, what a great idea! See, at least now I know what to bring as a proper gift when visiting. I will bring cats
Awesome.
with me. Okay.
We have a very, very innovative feature in the office, which is whiteboard on the floor. That was my idea.
A whiteboard
Nobody
on the
uses
floor?
it.
Actually,
Well, I had this vision that everyone could just sit on the cushions, because I like cushions. I like cushions and beanbags and soft furnishings, and I just had this vision that because people can use our office all the time, and they do, but they could sit around the whiteboard and brainstorm, and sort of do
While
their,
laying down the beanbag.
yeah, while laying down
That's
and
pretty
casually.
cool.
you know
I seem to
what?
be the only one who does that.
Mizpa, who happens to be like my boss slash host and stuff like that for MMOBuff and a variety of things, who happens to be watching, please take note of this feature. I want this installed
Oh,
at
yeah.
the office.
Yes.
So, yes.
Just
Now,
May
don't
have
walk on
started
it.
something there.
don't walk on it.
You can't walk on it.
So basically, there's a
Didn't really think that
non-walkable
one
part of
through.
your office.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would not be a good
Nice.
thing.
It's really good for playing cards on, though, as well. So we play Cards Against Humanity on it. So it's really good card.
Cards Against Humanity. Oh, I haven't played that in
Brilliant.
a while. And they have an online version, which makes it even great. So, but yes.
Oh, yeah.
So, what is your favorite genre of game? There has to be at
It
least
depends.
something.
Yeah, it depends what kind of mood I'm in. I have a sort of whole taxonomy depending on what I want to do. So, for example, if I want to completely mong out my game at the moment, which people will kind of go for, is something like Disco Zoo, because I don't actually need to think at all, and I'm just like. And then if I want to be in a state of mind where I just want to kind of be almost like in a dream trance state, so that my brain can think things through and process stuff and sort of semi-concentrate, I still play Drop 7. I absolutely adore Drop 7. If I feel like I'm fairly frustrated and I want to get some stress out, then I'll play some GTA. Or my favorite games are all the Lego games. So I love action-adventure games, and I love the Lego games in particular. And if I want to have a real kind of immersive, proper, I've decided appointment to play game, I get my iPad out and I play Monument Valley, which is my current favorite because I think it's just beautiful and really nicely done. Lovely, lovely game. Beautiful artwork. Or The Room. The Room was my previous favorite, and The Room 2. So I love those kinds of beautiful looking puzzle games. Really, really love them. I had to do some judging recently. I get asked to do judging for different kinds of sectors with, innovation categories or digital categories or games categories. And I I wanted to play Device 6. And God, that was amazing. So I really love games that surprise me like that and trying to do something different. And this is my playing device of choice, most definitely.
See, that's one of
And
the
you even
things.
have your Twitter handle on the iPad.
I was just about to say, I see, I see. There are so many genres of games out there that cover a variety of different platforms, from mobile devices down to the biggest computer you could possibly think of. Welcome to War Games, things like that, and it's amazing how many there are. For me, I have to agree. I like games that shock me and I like games that surprise me, but I love games that require collaborative effort. That's
Yeah,
where I come
yeah, I
from.
love co-op game. I love the Lego games for that reason. But I'm a
Mm.
really impatient person. I have a very short attention span, and I just sometimes I just don't get on. My other half just laughs at me because I will sometimes throw the controller down in a rage because I cannot get past a certain level. And I really, games are brilliant systems to teach you perseverance and to teach you about failure. Unfortunately, I'm not the best pupil.
Oh, let's see. The Room
It
is a
must be
really
great
good one
playing
for that.
co-op with you.
It's awful.
Have you played
It's
Portal?
worse than people traveling with me. Those are two things people hate doing with me: traveling with me and playing co-op games.
Have you
Very
played
nice.
Portal in co-op mode?
Uh,
Portal 2, I should say, in
yes,
co-op mode.
not in co-op mode.
Uh, I'm willing to risk it. I'm willing to actually give it a go and play with you, and we could see what happens because that's all about collaboration, but it's also really funny.
Do you know,
So,
Way, game Way? It was one of the Games for Change games a while
No.
back.
no, I
It's a
don't.
beautiful little game. Very similar, sort of, in terms of what it was trying to do in terms of non-verbal communication as Journey. But do a search for it online. It was one of the Games for Change finalists, I think, or it might have won an award. But anyway, it. So you just play with someone, you don't know who they are, and and there's limited movement, but I could just tell the person was like, "Oh, there, go over there, like, there's
This
that,
way.
with very limited
Amazing.
movement." I felt really bad.
So apparently, one of our viewers, Dutcher, says that if we go co-op, we have to stream it, and they'll sell tickets.
Oh God, that's even worse.
We could be put up on display like rodents and rats. It'll be wonderful.
Oops, I've just knocked my camera. Sorry.
No
That's how
Keep people
worries.
excited I
voting
was
how
at
long
that
it takes for
prospect.
one of you to crack.
I have the
It will take
patience
me
of a
literally 10
saint. It'll be
seconds.
great. I will put my patience up against you because yes, games have taught me quite a bit of patience, as does being in a community with a lot of people and a lot of different
Oh
personalities.
yes, yes.
Ooh.
Bit like being a membership organization.
Yes, that's actually a lot about what it is. Most definitely. So let's move into some of the big key questions that we've actually had some people ask us. So we want to pick your brains about because you are in the know.
Mm-hmm.
So we know a bit about what Yuki does. What specifically does it offer to the independent developer?
Well, I mean, are there to guide developers, particularly, as we see there's a whole sort of growth and grassroots movement and real kind of burgeoning of new companies and micro studios and independent developers. And there's a lot of legal issues and a lot of kind of stuff happening at the moment that we work very closely with government to make happen and to stop happening. So, for example, and this applies to any developer, as well as anyone in the games industry a lot of the time. So the tax breaks, for one, are a really important bit of legislation. We're going down to Bristol this afternoon to do the latest in our UK-wide roadshow for the tax breaks in terms of doing briefing session and telling people what it's about. Lots of indie developers who are maybe one-people bands tend to think that the tax breaks isn't for them, they're not going to be able to qualify, and it's not true. So there's a lot that we do in terms of informing and educating and helping people understand certain issues. Another example was the OFT's investigation into in-app purchasing in games. In April last year, they launched this investigation, particularly around children's games, and actually they were at the stage of taking people to court. And we talked to them and said, look, we think that lots of people who are making games just need to know about these existing rules and regulations. And we worked very closely with them and very collaboratively with a lot of people from the industry as well, to help them sort of understand game mechanics, how in-app purchasing works, how game mechanics work, and the responsible nature of our industry. So, and that now needs to, be explained to a lot of developers who maybe haven't had experience of advertising on TV, for example, which is where these rules really have come from. But we do offer a lot of practical help. So our office for our members is completely free to use. So we have hot desking space. We have meeting and event space. If people want to hold their events here, we can do that. We put on networking and knowledge building events, so we call them kind of how-tos. So it might be how to be discovered, how to access that giant pot of money that government has, or and we also put people in touch with investors and put them in front of investors, or put them in front of publishers if they want that, or any other kind of partners that they might want to be introduced to or work with. So there's a lot of practical help, there's a lot of education stuff, and there's a lot of just being that, again, that promoter of positive image of the games industry.
So all these things you're making use of, right, Danny?
Well, actually, I need to start looking into this kind of stuff. That's why it's really interesting to have you on the show, because we've just really been starting up down in Brighton, and we need to learn about this kind of stuff. So it would be great to kind of, I don't know, get in touch about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Come and see us, or we'll come and see you.
Yeah, either way, I don't know. Well, I mean, it's more if we can get up there, that'd be great. No, we're just about to release our first game, so like we need to kind of get it to the point where anything about these tax breaks that would obviously be helpful for us long term. Anything that kind of, I don't know, it would benefit the company's growth, and instead of it just being myself and Roberta, it'll be more like how do we expand? I mean, knowledge building in that sense would be great.
Yeah. And what kind of relationships do you need to start building? What kind of partnerships? Even understanding sort of basic business stuff. I took over this organization 2.5 years ago. I've never run a business before. We're a not-for-profit. We're 10 people with a core team really of 5. And I had no clue how to run a business. I mean, you've got all these things like HR and insurance and the health and safety, and oh my god, if I have to deal with another kind of fat or kind of HMRC thing, I mean, it really is a minefield, and there is lots of guidance out there, but sometimes it's not in plain English, and sometimes you need a kind of interloper or an interpreter to guide you through and to kind of point you in the right direction. So our network has like loads of PR companies or HR companies or lawyers or accountants, who we arrange really good discount deals with, almost like a Groupon approach. We say, look, we've got this many companies and this many people who want to take advantage of your service potentially. What's the best deal you can offer them? And and every penny helps, especially when you're running and starting up a business. It really does help. And that's what's going to be interesting about the tax credit, because the tax credit, if you get the sign off and you're going to pass the cultural tests, which is something we can sort of talk about later if you like, but in the film industry, what that has meant is that people have been more willing to lend to companies, because as we know, it's really difficult to get banks to lend to games companies and to any creative industries, and that's something that we're working with the government to try and solve.
I will pipe up on that one. I don't do games development, but I do work in the games industry in my own right. So, hearing about this side of things is incredibly important. I think a lot of people forget the fact that game developers are human, and they have to deal with the problem of, oh, did we actually pay VAT? Oh, wait, if we're going to sell in this country, we need to do this.
Exactly.
Oh, wait, I need to follow these rules and these laws and legislations because Germany does things differently than they do here in the UK. Do you guys interface for that kind of regioning that occurs? Because I'll be honest, as a gamer, it gets very frustrating when it seems almost as if games companies ignore the fact that we're gamers and kind of are like more focused on getting the regioning done than the individual gamers themselves. And I don't think it's on the fault of the developers. I think they're dealing with legal legislations that we are unaware of. So are you aware of anything that has to be specific to the United Kingdom that is, say, not the same to Europe?
No, I mean, that's one thing about being part of the European Union, I guess, and you have directives that member states sort of choose to enforce or follow in a particular way. We are one of the founding members of the kind of European umbrella trade body for games called ISFI. And, they are undergoing lots of change as well, because our industry has completely changed shape, right? It's no longer that you have this clear divide between those who publish games and those who develop games. And that's why we rebranded in 2010 to become UKIE and open up our doors to everybody in the industry, because we used to just be a publisher association. and that did reflect the nature of the business at the time. And you know, ISFI is, they're based in Brussels, so they do a lot of the interfacing, if you like, with the European Commission and the European, MEPs and so on. And that's really important because there are important things like the OFT investigation, for example. That is the OFT is the UK's enforcement body for fair trading, and the rules that they are kind of, you know, they look after are Europe-wide rules, but you have local enforcement bodies, so the equivalent of the OFT in different member states. And that's important just to get that harmonization and to get that clear understanding of how it works. Because, yeah, we are all operating in a global marketplace. We keep coming up against this problem quite often where a lot of legislation and rules are quite black and white, and they've been made and built a long time ago for an analog age, not for a digital age. And you know, it's part of our job to start to kind of, you know, just tinker with them a little bit and go to government and recommend, modernizing them. I mean, the classic case is the tax breaks. You know, the tax break scheme that we now have as a games industry is unlike any in the world, because we, you know, they recognize, because we told them that games are turning into a service. You know, it's not so much the case now that you just release a game and that's it, you forget about it and job done, go home, get your tax credit. It's not like a film, it's not like a TV, it's not like animation. So there are peculiarities which are fantastic and innovative, and you know, always changing in our industry. So you know, the tax credit scheme in this country now recognizes that post-release iteration and post-release production of new content or features or DLC happens, and you can continue to claim on that post-release production, which is amazing.
So of course,
that's great. I mean,
go ahead, Danny.
Sorry. It's something that's definitely needed. I don't think most developers even know that this sort of thing can be done as well. It's not so much about raising the awareness for the government as well. It's like raising the awareness for the smaller developers. That, I mean, exactly. I think more of the bigger publishers would know about this stuff more than, say, like myself. I barely knew much about this until like recently researching it. So it's great to have something out there.
Big companies tend to have, you know, setups like HR teams. When I used to work at BBC or Channel 4, you know, I didn't have to deal with anything to do with HR because we had HR to do that, you know, and you have teams of lawyers to guide you and to, you know, advise you, so, and to look after the contract side. So when you are a small business, that becomes more challenging. And again, we give people access to legal help and to lawyers and to people who are used to dealing with the games industry and games businesses and can talk in the language that we understand.
Yeah, that's one thing as well. When we were trying to find an accountant, we were trying to find like someone who had expertise in the games industry, and that's really difficult. Well, it's quite rare to find an accountant with experience in that sort of thing. So yeah, like just even having the connections available is a great thing.
We're thinking of doing some, you know, we've been taking this Tax Breaks Roadshow across the country, as I said, and we've had Anna Mancy, who heads up the certification unit at the BFI, so they're the ones who'll be going through this cultural test that your game has to pass in order to get the credit. And we've been taking her, which has been fantastic, an accountant from Safri Champness, and a lawyer from Harbottle Allen, and sometimes HMRC themselves, and it sounds like the beginning of a really bad joke. What are you doing?
I wasn't going to say it,
but an accountant in a room. Oops, I keep doing that with my foot. Sorry. But you know, it's been really good because you know, it's fantastic to put people in front of an audience, and then you get questions much like this. You know, maybe we should do it by Twitch actually. But it's also nice just to be physically in the same room, and again, that is about relationship forming, and they get to know the accountant or the lawyer, whoever's with us, and then you start to become friends, and then it becomes easier to do business. You know, but we were beginning to think, you know, why don't we do some sort of workshops to educate a whole bunch of lawyers who aren't used to dealing with the games industry, or accountants, and just sort of immerse them and do this kind of, you know, introduction to the games industry, and just bring in people and, you know, show them different case studies, because we have so many different business models, we have so many different options, we have so many different platforms we can release on, we have so, you know, there are so many things in the industry that if you're not within the games industry, it's pretty tough to get your head around.
Yeah, it's a lot of trial by fire as well. I think most people don't quite understand the scale of what the games industry actually is. It's not just a couple of programmers or a couple of artists. The amount of work that goes into actually putting that everywhere, it's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. I did a roundtable with the Interactive Advertising Bureau yesterday, and I quite often get asked to talk about the games industry to people outside the games industry like that, and particularly in advertising and agencies, they completely want to get involved in games but just don't know how to do it. They are now understanding that games are we have to be really protective of our community of players, because our community is key. And that is quite unlike any other sectors like the film industry or the music industry, for instance. I think that is quite different. And trying to help them find really good case studies of where something has worked, where something hasn't worked, and why, and helping them to understand is really important, because they want to be involved. They see the benefit and the great thing about games, but they need help.
Yeah,
we all need help, but
we all need help.
We all do need help. And in fact, I have a question for you, Danny. I hope you're ready for this. This actually comes from the chat, and I presented to Danny first, but I'll let you bring this up or respond to it, Joe, from a different perspective, if you would so like. But Robot Hates Me wants to know, if the rules seem outdated due to technology advancements, is it important to go past the line in order to spark change, or at least the need for it? Almost, I would assume, like an awareness thing. Would you agree?
I think that if the rules are very much outdated and they're not keeping up with the trends, or like if things are progressing too fast, they need to really be rethought or updated, or like I think that's what UKIE is doing. That they're kind of putting the fact that this isn't working and then putting it in front of the right people, and then they're starting a discussion about it. I think that's the way it should be going.
So don't just build something and then just hope it happens or hope it works out well. You think people should stick within the rules before pushing them?
No, I think if the rules aren't quite working, then they need to be rethought of.
And that is one of our jobs. We become that funnel of opinion and insight and experience through our network to policymakers and to government and to anyone else who's making these rules. Because sometimes it's very simple things that they just haven't thought about, or they haven't asked a question, or it hasn't occurred to them because they're not in the games industry. So our job is to just go and say, this thing here is a bit weird. Can we change it? Because it'd be much better if it happened like this, because otherwise this will happen. And if you did it like this, then all this will happen. And they go, oh, yeah, that's so if you put forward a really well thought out, not quite like that, really well intelligently articulated and well thought out case to people.
What, you don't use beanbags and whiteboards on the floor to explain to the politicians?
Yeah, totally, dude. Look, here's my cat. It says that this is... No, we don't do that.
So basically, you're the eyes and ears of the government in terms of the games industry.
Yeah, both ways. Yeah. Yes, and sort of going that way. So we are here to represent as a single voice. And people get kind of confused by what that means. One of the challenges of this job is that it is cat herding. I went to a fabulous talk, the final talk I went to at GDC. How many times can I get cat into this conversation? I went to a fabulous talk by Ernest Adams, who set up IGDA years ago at GDC, and it was the final talk I went to on the final day, and it was called Cat Herding, and it was about running a membership organization in trade associations, and he demonstrated every point with a cat slide. So obviously I was awesomely impressed, and showed him my cat leggings that I was wearing at the time, and it's really part of the trick of this job is to sort of cat herd opinion and listen. You have to be a really good listener, and you have to be able to distill what people are saying to you into something that is a consensus decision. And okay, we're all agreed on this. We all go. Are we all good to go? We all agree. Right, let's go. And then you present that to, the powers that be, or whoever it is you're trying to influence. Influence is one of the biggest skills in life that people. It's hard, and you're constantly learning how to influence. I have learned the hard way.
I think everyone has to go through those moments of difficulty. And I think anyone who thinks that experiencing failure is a bad thing is kind of limiting themselves. And this goes for making, friends or getting involved in an industry, trying a game or what have you. Honestly, the more you fail, the more successful you'll be. There's this
Absolutely.
huge amount of research into
as long
the
as you
importance
learn
of
from the failure.
Well, that's
Yeah.
true. But there's this huge amount of research into how failures have actually helped us with technological advances. I mean, some of the things that we take for granted today were the byproduct of a mistake. And
Yeah,
I think
unintended consequences.
unintended consequences, right? So we have a question that's come in for you. Besides the fact that we have a lot of people saying that they absolutely love your style, Joe, and I have to agree. But I do have a question after this one as well. But are there any UKIE presentations coming to the Northwest here in the UK?
Well, we're actually going to be up in Liverpool in July. We're going to do a couple of seminar and panel sessions. So we're doing there's something called the Liverpool International Festival of Business. I never know which way it goes around. It's the first time they've done this kind of big festival of business. It is what it is. It is, and it's kind of over 60 days, and it's to highlight, really spotlight the UK is a great place to do business because we're full of awesome people, and really good business and tax environment, but it's also trying to shine a spotlight on Liverpool. I think off the back of Liverpool being city of culture at one point a few years ago. And so we're putting on like a mini expo showcase of companies, and they can get in touch with us if they want to be present there, so you don't have to be a Liverpool business or in the Northwest. And there'll be loads of international investors and loads of kind of international visitors at this expo. And we'll be doing a tax breaks briefing session there, and another panel session as well. And I hope to pop into the Liverpool Studio School while I'm up there, which is amazing. I don't know if you've heard of them or seen them. They opened last year, and they're a high school that runs like a game studio.
Why was this not around when I was younger?
I know, but I made the mistake of watching the film a few months ago, Video Game High, I think it was called. Have you ever seen that?
Video Game High School.
Oh yeah, that was a YouTube series, wasn't it?
Was it?
It was a series.
Oh my God, it's awful.
I have to admit, every time I saw it pop up, I'm like, I think I'll skip. I haven't seen it to judge it or make a call on it, but yeah, I've had my own little things there. So I have another question for you. Now, you are an advocacy group. You are a place where everyone can collect together. You offer an awful lot of support, and then you talk about the cat herding side of things. Now, it is one thing to try to get everybody together to discuss something. That is a cat herding exercise unto itself. How do you handle it and come to a consensus when so many cats want to use hats and so many cats don't want to use hats? How do you get all of the different cats together to have
how many cats?
I'm trying her method. I'm going with the cat thing here. But how do you get them to how do you get a consensus when there are so many different people have so many differing opinions and yet still want to bring change, and you can't do that in a world where I guess everyone is going to have their own opinion, but how do you make it work?
Sometimes, I mean, you find that people don't actually drastically disagree. There might be small points, and that is again about just having a conversation and putting both sides of an argument and saying, look, if we argue for this, then this is going to happen. If we argue for this thing over here, then maybe something negative is going to happen. And it really is sort of trying to just engage in a conversation with people. And you usually do end up getting a consensus and an agreement. That's a great thing about listening and talking to people, right? And talking to as many people as you can, and getting that sort of representative sample view. Exactly. We've got Andy here is our policy officer, and he's the one who actually then puts, because a lot of the stuff we do, asking for tax credits, for example, it's all about sort of a formal consultation process, and the government will put out some questions, and we'll go out and talk to lots and lots of people and then synthesize it in a document, which we always put online, by the way. You can always see our consultation responses online. We like to be as transparent as possible because this is your views that we're representing, so we have to be. And his job, he loves nothing better than he's a brilliant writer, so he loves nothing better than getting all these disparate views and getting his opinion, and then really putting it into a really concise document that always tends to kind of satisfy everyone's opinion. So you kind of
I
people
suppose
just
then you
don't
have loads
really
of tweaks and changes being emailed in based on that document as well.
exactly.
It's an evolving document.
It is always an iterating document. Yes.
All documents are iterative. Anyone who says something is final kind of doesn't understand human nature. So we have another question for you, and this is from a Twitcher. It says, the UK may be good for business tax-wise, but it isn't so good for gamers, as we tend to pay more than people across the pond for the same types of games, same subscription methodologies, and dev companies say that they put it on tax. Now, is it really tax problems that actually increase the cost of games, do you think? Or do you think that dev companies have other reasons that they're introducing higher costs for games?
It's a really difficult one, and I tend not to be able to comment on that kind of thing.
Well, it's a fair
'Cause
enough
that's
thing.
pretty, yeah, because it is fair enough, but it's, you know, it's one of those things that's commercial decisions, company by company. It is a really, you know, it is a really tricky one, but again, that's why I do like the ability to choose experiences and games that I want to pay for as a consumer in the way that I want to pay for it. You know, we have, again, so many different choices of how you pay for games. And when it's done well, you know, that is a win for the consumer. So it's not just about free to play. It's not just about paying for a box product. It's not just about you know, paying upfront for an app. You know, it is all of these things, and that's great. I love that.
There's so many different ways to do things in this industry. So many
I
different
believe
ways.
in your right to choose as well. You know, you again, if you're guided and you know that you're within the law and you're doing things responsibly because you have to protect your brand. Your brand as a game developer and as a games company and as a game is tantamount. You know, consumers market will be rough on you if you piss them off, pee them off.
I think, to be honest, if you don't like the way a company's doing business, don't give them your money. Like,
exactly.
It's that simple. You have the right to vote your wallet, so don't vote them.
Yes, definitely. So you were talking about the tax breaks that game developers are being offered, in particular independent developers here in the United Kingdom. So I want to pick your brains a little bit about that and see if you can shed some light on where it was and where it's at now. And do you see potential future changes as well?
Well, I mean, as far as the system goes, so, you know, there are some other really innovative things that we argued for. So I mentioned the post-release claims that you can make. And by the way, we have a handy little guide. We tend to do these free things, quick guides. Need to know, which are available from our website. And we have a couple of other really innovative stuff. Like, for example, in France, they have a games tax credit scheme, but your game has to have a minimum budget of 150,000 euros. And we said, you know what, that's just irrelevant. You know, it's completely irrelevant. You know, it's some business decision again for companies about you know, how they run their business and whether they want to make a claim or not. So, you know, games budgets really widely vary nowadays and can vary widely. So, you know, we got rid of that. We also shared our concerns with our colleagues in animation around the cultural test, which said, you know, if your character or you know, the setting, the location, because this is all based on the film cultural test that you have to go through. And we said that sometimes games don't have a character or a location. You know,
so true.
And we used Super Hexagon as an example, and which completely blew DCMS's minds. You know, and actually Anna from the BFI uses that as an example, as well as Thomas Was Alone, as an illustrative example of games that would qualify for the tax credit, even though, especially when you look at Super Hexagon, you kind of go, what? There's no voiceover, there's no character, there's no story, there's no location. It's just bloody hard.
That's fantastic.
Yes,
definitely. So the cultural test is making sure that it's sort of fitting within British culture, or it needs to include a character that's English, or
no. So the cultural test is a legal requirement. So tax credits like this, because we're part of the European Union, constitute state aid. So you need to there's only two kind of legal grounds in which state aid can be granted to member states, and the first is on research and development grounds, and we already have the R&D tax credits for games, and the second is on increasing, incentivizing the cultural output of a country. So this is really about kind of incentivizing this creation of games that reflect a British sense of culture or identity, but also European sense of culture or identity. And the misconception is often that you have to have a red telephone box or everyone has to have a British accent, and that's actually not the case. And it's not. It's also not about being British. And you get, the cultural test is online, and it's quite useful to look through it, and obviously to come to one of our sessions, because then you can get FaceTime with the BFI to go through the questions. They are really open as a team. They want people, it's not a test that they want people to fail, it's a test that they want people to pass. So they're really open to anyone having a really early conversation about their game and say, look, I just want to run this by you. I'm stuck on this section. How can I get more points? And importantly, it's not just about the game itself and what appears on screen. It's also about the development talent behind the screen, and who's taking up those lead roles. So UK or EEA residents doing sort of lead designer or lead artist or whatever. So even if you're a one-man or one-woman band, if you're fulfilling all of those, if you're doing those roles, I always try and do it. I'm not going to do it because no one ever gets it, because I'm too old and no one ever gets this reference. With like, I wrote the theme tune, I sung the theme tune.
Oh God!
No?
I know what that is. I do know what
that
is.
Yeah.
I do.
Exactly. Anyway,
Britain. Hey.
But
and I'm not even British.
There you go. And if you fulfill all those roles, even if you're a single developer, you get those points, which is amazing. People don't realize that either. And one of the other things that is really interesting that has kind of people haven't really talked much about, but I'm keen to, is that you get more points for diversity. So if your development talent is diverse around gender, so oh my God, it's a woman, or ethnicity,
wait.
or
Women in game development
or ability. I know.
Does this happen?
This is just weird. Or if they're, if it's so.
You should meet Roberta. She's the CEO of this company.
But if you have a diverse development team, then you get extra points. If your characters or your story is reflecting diversity, then you get more points. That's amazing. Now, we shouldn't have to have, gamify diversity. I hate that word. I can't believe I said it. Not diversity, gamify.
It was a very big business
it's really
word.
Interesting. Yeah, it's terrible, like leverage. But it's really interesting because it just makes people think about it. When I was commissioning games at Channel 4, I would just always ask the question, why does this character have to be male? Does this character have to be able-bodied? Is there some kind of editorial justification for this character being, you making that choice? And if there isn't, well then let's reflect the audience that we're trying to appeal to, who might have disabilities. They might be non-white. They might happen to be a woman, and it's just getting that thought process ingrained in people. So the cultural test will do that. Hopefully.
Do you think that runs a risk, though, of maybe incentivizing you to do something like you're kind of find companies maybe trying to shoehorn diversity in there just because they want that, or do they feel like?
I don't think so, because there's plenty of other points that they can get. But again, it's just kind of questioning, and the whole point of the cultural test and the cultural argument is that it is reflecting a British sense of identity. In Britain, we are very multicultural. We are half male, female. We have people with different abilities and disabilities. We have people with different identities and sexuality. And we just have people with different stories and different backgrounds. And they want to recognize those stories and relate to those characters and themselves on screen in the fantastic games that we produce.
Gaming. Such a fun thing. Bid the Dog says, Joe, I understand the arguments around sexism, racism, etc., but you're also in danger of shoehorning thing, which is like Danny had said and pointed out, and apparently you're related to somebody in chat. Who knows?
Oh, really?
Apparently.
Who?
I don't know, but apparently someone named 704 thinks that you are their wife. Hey, what do you know?
Hi.
Maybe they've got cats. Who knows?
Yeah,
Welcome to the
they're
internet.
referring to, yeah.
Okay, so let's, as we were saying, I mean, you support the developers in a variety of ways. So we've got some questions that were also sent in by some developers who would like to have some answers, and thus I'm going to throw them at you. So let's say that we have an example where a particular studio has just found out that a development company wants to purchase their game. Now they're a tiny little mom and pop shop, and they've just found out some big name developer and publisher company goes, "Hey, we like your idea. We want to buy it from you." Do you have support groups for people to come on and go, "This has just occurred. Can I talk to someone about what's happened?"
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we have experts. Again, it's not necessarily us, although we can help. So it's us introducing you to experts within our network. So it might be people who've been there, done that, and gone through the similar process, who can give some mentoring advice and sort of informal mentoring, or it could be kind of legal experts or, contracts experts or people who, are used to dealing with these kinds of deals and can give you that advice. All our members get, an hour's free advice with lawyers, for example, as part of their membership. But we also, I think this is where mentoring really comes in quite handy, and being able to, talk to someone who has been through that kind of experience or has done that similar kind of deal, and can sort of warn you about the pitfalls or the positives of any given deal. And we're partnering with Nesta, who run a creative industries mentoring scheme. We've just gone through a big recruitment round to get companies who want to be mentored to apply for the scheme and to recruit mentors. And what we hope to do is be able to kind of spread that network quite widely, because mentors are really important. Having someone as a sounding board that you can sense check things with is really important. And again, that is how you learn. You learn from other people's mistakes, and from other people's good decisions. So we would encourage people to, you don't have to be a member at all for a lot of the stuff that we do. So for that particular scheme, you don't have to be a member, you can just apply for it. And I think, again, that's where this industry is fantastic at helping each other. And there's been terrible kind of studio closures in recent years, and I love the fact that we all rally together and have that support network. It's like a sort of bat signal that goes up, and everyone sort of rallies around and goes, right, you can have a desk here, you can see exactly. And I think that's incredible.
It's a very supportive industry as well.
It is.
I think some
compared
people
to
do
others,
forget
it
that.
really is.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I think some people forget that. I mean, yes, in the end, there are companies that are out there that are trying to live off of the products that they create, their different IPs. And thus, yes, it is a competitive market. Yet behind the scenes, there's an incredibly diverse group of very supportive people. And that is one of the things that I think people don't quite see. Unless they go to a convention and then they see all the developers at the end of the convention all together in the bar, hiding out, going, "Wow, that was rough. That was a rough day.
My legs hurt after standing for 3 days or something."
Or like the one who sat there in the bar and decided to put out the next iterative set of code the next day live at a convention. While they were at the bar, I'm still sitting there going, "Wow," at that.
Yeah, yes. that was actually Byron, Joe. He did that live at Res. Yeah, that was great.
Nice. No, I mean, again, that's why we do things like we run the UK industry stand at Gamescom, for instance, and at GDC San Francisco in the Expo area, and we work with UKIE to help companies get out there for free. To exhibit for free. And again, that's really important because the stand is like this enclosed sort of massive stand, certainly at Gamescom, with like 40 companies and all these tables that they put. And what's really nice is that it's like a festival feel. And again, you just, by walking onto the stand, you kind of get this sense of we're in it together. Here we are as the British games industry together. And because you've got kind of 40 companies, all having their different meetings on the stand, they get to talk to each other again, and they get to kind of network and meet new people who they might not have done business with before, or they haven't had the chance to talk to informally before. And again, that's really great to see, because then you see people who are kind of, giving advice just on the spot and sort of having those conversations. putting people together is so important, so important.
We've had another question come in, and this is from Bid the Dog, who has a lot of good questions, actually. Is UKIE solely business focused, or do you also put developers together? I'm in the process of trying to find people to help with projects. Although I've had a lot of success so far, it's been a very difficult process. I started recruiting about a year ago.
Wow. Yeah. Skill shortage is, you know, quite a problem, which is something we're trying to fix as well. I mean, you join UKIE, you can join UKIE. You don't have to join UKIE, but you can join. You join UKIE as a company. So even if you're a single developer, again, you can still be a company, which is really important, by the way, if you want to be able to apply for your tax credit, and it only takes 15 minutes. You can do it online. People are afraid of that as well, but you can join as a company. We don't do sort of single individual membership yet. But you can still come and talk to us and come and be part of what we're trying to do with the networking events. Come and take part so that you're actually meeting people, and then who knows what will happen. We like people coming and hanging out in the office because we want this to feel like a place where you can bump into people and have those serendipitous conversations. But by all means, get in touch.
Well, there you go. And there are some good answers for you. So now it's been an awful lot of stuff that we have discussed, from the development point of view down to even legal things and tax credits and breaks for game developers and things like that, which is kind of awesome. Now, there are need to know stuff. For those of you who are interested in learning more about UKIE, the actual address has been at the very bottom of our screen this entire show. It is UKIE.INFO, and they have an awful lot of stuff that you can find just on their website alone. So it is well worth checking it out.
It's a really bad website, though. No, it's
well,
really bad. We were supposed to launch our new website.
It's one of those serendipitous conversations. You know what I do when I'm not gaming? I do web development. Maybe we can
Do you
talk.
really?
As a matter of fact, yes, I do, and we should talk. But, you know, one of the things we also want to do is offer advice. So what I'm going to let you both do is take a moment and think of the best piece of advice you can give to a game developer. The best piece of advice. And in that particular case, it gives me a chance to go through and let people know what's coming up on the shows for the rest of the week, but gives you guys some time to think about it. And then we'll get that, and then we'll say bye-bye to everyone. And I think all of us really want lunch, so we'll probably do that. But so yes, while they're thinking, as a reminder, tomorrow night at 8 p.m., our show Cosmotronic, which is literally all about the WildStar franchise, will be on. It is the very last show before the game's release, because the pre-release is this weekend. This is not the last Cosmotronic. We'll have more of them every Friday as we start to go into theory crafting. On Saturdays, we're looking at TCGs, and we're looking at independent TCGs. So this Saturday at 8 p.m., we're continuing to look at Battle for Gia, and we've had a lot of developer feedback, and we'll be sharing that feedback with you, as well as giving away a code to get free ingots. That just makes it awesome. It gets you a booster pack in the TCG. Monday, Miss Pa and I are back again to butt heads because we never agree on anything in the games industry at all, and we'll be fighting and arguing about some topics. However, the topic this week has been picked by our viewers from last week's episode, and the topic we pick, you will be receiving a gigantic care package from Swagzilla, who has a whole lot of swag to give to you. Tuesday, remember, it's the campfire. We have Real Blank Space on. We have Screenager on. We haven't quite settled on our guests for this coming up week, but it's literally all about building strong communities of gamers, of building the communities that break the barrier of, oh, you're just trolls and all you're out to do is bully people. So remember, Tuesday shows the campfire, all about building the stronger community. Wednesday, it's the Blizzard forecast. We've got Par from Yogscast, we've got Mizpa, we've got Real Blank Space, we've got Dr. Marshmallows, we've got myself, we've got Hearth Trollden. A whole bunch of us talk all things Blizzard. And then next week at 1 p.m., we are back with the Datamine. So that just lets you know a little bit about what's going on. So now we get to the advice part of the show. My best piece of advice, in all honesty, is if you are unfamiliar of your question that you want to ask, just start researching. Someone else has probably had something similar pop up. And also don't be afraid to ask for help. Really don't. So go ahead, Danny, we'll let you go. We'll let Joe have a little bit more time for the best piece of advice.
I think, I don't know, always finish what you start doing. Even if you fail at it, it just helps you to learn the whole process. You need to keep going with that. I think that's probably, I don't know, that's how I got to where I am. I failed often.
Well, as I was saying earlier today, you know, failure is a very key thing, and what you do with that failure can make or break a person. But yes, go ahead, Joe, cat lady, tell us the best piece of advice you've got.
The best piece of advice I would say is expect the unexpected, always. We talk about this industry always being in transition and people having to be agile and adapt. And I think agility and being able to adapt is absolutely critical. This industry is always going to be like this because we're at the cutting edge. We're innovating like nobody else. We sit at the apex of content creativity and brilliant stuff and innovation and technology. You know, we are unlike any other sector. So we are leading the way. We're going to be experiencing the bumps first, and just expect that, be prepared, be agile, adapt.
That's awesome.
So basically be prepared, agile, and adapt.
Yeah.
There you go.
Fantastic. So basically this leaves me to say to you, Dr.
The evil
Joe
cat
Twist,
on the lap.
the CEO of UKIE and huge fan of cats, slightly obsessed with cats. See, now I know what to send you for your birthday cards and stuff like that. Just
There is so many cats in that office. It's unreal.
You even have a Nyan cat. There it is. There it is. There's the Nyan cat. Wow.
Amazing.
But yes, I want to thank you so much for joining us, because I know that it's an hour out of your time and out of your day, and helping to share the information, because not a lot of people know about UKIE yet, and now
You're
they
welcome.
do. Yes.
Good.
And hopefully we can have you back very, very soon to discuss even more things within the gaming world and development. Or you can help direct us, as networking does, to more people who might want to come on and talk about things like game engines, or how do you develop a level, or how do you make a game that is for kids? How do you accomplish X, Y, and Z? And we'll have more people on. But yes. And Danny, do you know who we're having join us next week?
No, actually.
Okay, then. So next week, we'll have another guest on to discuss something. As to what we'll be discussing and which guest it is, we haven't quite figured that out yet.
I'm actually waiting for them to confirm, so it's to be decided. Yes.
TV decided.
I found out who my husband was, by the way.
Oh, who's your husband?
He's sitting over there.
Well, see, now you know, and I think knowing is part of the battle, and I think now you need to demand kittens.
Yeah, exactly. He could have told me. Oh.
Well, see, now you know.
See, now you're going to have to buy a cat.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Has to be done. But yes, I want to thank all of you who had questions. Remember, if you have a question that you want us to tackle in the Datamine, and it can be literally anything about game development, anything at all, please get in touch with us. We will hunt down the people who will answer these questions for you. Think of us sort of as a little bit like a tiny bitty version of the UKIE. We'll try to find you those answers, and we'll have them live. And don't forget, we do have a game jam coming up. You're going to want to pay attention, and if you are interested in gaming in any way, shape, or form, we're going to have a game jam, and I may have to ask Joe to come judge the game jam.
I'd be happy
That would be
to.
cool, actually.
Because we're going to do it for charity, and we're going to stream it over Twitch for 48 hours, and it will be a 48-hour game jam. And that'll be interesting.
Excellent.
And we'll raise money for charity. Stuff that we love to do.
You can see me fall asleep on stream.
Well, yes, that shouldn't be too difficult. I've seen you fall asleep standing up before.
That was at Red. That was
Yes,
very tiring.
You were really, really tired. But yes, on that note, Joe, thank you so much. Danny, thank you as well. And to all of you who are watching, thank you. Remember, be good to each other. And remember, gaming is fun. And it's a lifestyle choice. Might as well just add that little bit there. But yes, we'll see you very soon. Toodle pip, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for watching the full episode of the Datamine, Episode 2, where we had Dr. Joe Twist on talking to us about the full services offered by UKIE, an advocacy group for game developers. If you like what you've seen, please click like, share, and subscribe. Of course, if you have any topics you want us to cover, leave us comments below. Send us an email at voice@MMOBuff.TV. And if you would like to watch a previous episode, the very first one, the pilot one, the one with all the bugs, click the bobbly heads that you see at the very top there. Speak with you soon. Bye-bye.